Love him or hate him, Jake Paul changed boxing permanently.
This may be it! Oh!
Who's doing more than me? I'm the face of this sport.
Before Jake, boxing was losing momentum. Big fights weren't pulling numbers. Younger fans weren't tuning in. The sport needed a spark. Then, out of nowhere, a controversial internet star walks into the sport.
Boxing's most polarizing figure has silenced all his opponents.
And suddenly, boxing is everywhere. The thing that makes Jake Paul different isn't his following. It's that he believes he can hang with the best. And he's willing to put his body on the line to prove it.
The problem child, Jake Paul!
This is the story of how a kid who picked up a camera became one of the most talked about fighters on the planet. The early years, a kid from Ohio who loved proving people wrong. Jake grew up in Westlake, Ohio, small town, big ambition. He wasn't the most talented kid, he wasn't the strongest, but he was the one who refused to quit. Growing up, Jake and Logan were always pushing boundaries, racing bikes through hallways, jumping off roofs, turning their entire neighborhood into a stunt playground. One thing about Jake Paul, he has always been fueled by doubt. Tell him he can't do something. He'll dedicate his life to proving you wrong. The call-out, the moment that changed everything. Fast forward to 2018. Logan Paul versus KSI takes over the internet. Two YouTubers filled arenas like real prize fighters. But in the shadows of that massive event, a smaller fire was starting. Deji, KSI's younger brother, called out Jake. Deji said Jake wasn't built for fighting, said he was soft, said Logan was the real Paul brother. And that was the trigger. Jake trained like he had something to prove to the entire world, and that amateur fight, meant to be entertainment, became the first sign of something bigger. Jake didn't just beat Deji, he broke his will. He showed composure that didn't match someone with zero boxing background. That win didn't satisfy him, it woke him up. The transformation, leaving everything behind. After that fight, Jake did something shocking, something almost nobody saw coming. Instead of going back to YouTube content, he walked away from it. He left the chaos of Los Angeles, he left the partying, he left the distractions, he left millions of dollars in easy content behind. He surrounded himself with real boxers, real trainers, real discipline. He was no longer an influencer doing boxing. He was a boxer who happened to have a past on YouTube. The first real test, Anderson Gibb. When Jake announced he was turning pro, the jokes were endless. People said Gibb would stop the hype train, that his pressure would overwhelm Jake, that Jake wouldn't survive a real fight. But Jake showed something people didn't expect: patience. He didn't rush. He didn't panic. He fought like someone with a plan. And when he won, it wasn't luck, it was skill.
And now he's down again! And that is it!
The Nate Robinson shockwave. A moment that changed his image forever. Then came the moment that took over the internet. Nate Robinson wasn't just an athlete, he was a freak of nature. NBA slam dunk champion, explosive, powerful. But he made the mistake every beginner makes. He charged in head first. Jake stayed calm, kept his distance, timed his shots, and then...
Mamma mia, the problem child proven to be!
That knockout wasn't just a highlight. It became part of internet history. And suddenly, Jake Paul wasn't a joke anymore. The MMA phase, entering dangerous territory. Next came the real fighters. Ben Askren, Olympic wrestler, MMA veteran, Iron Chin. People said Jake wouldn't last around, but Askren walked in sloppy. And Jake made him pay.
Get my money, Jake! Get my motherfucking money, Jake!
Tyron Woodley, the first true danger. Every fighter has a moment where they face someone dangerous, someone whose presence alone changes everything. For Jake Paul, That moment was Tyron Woodley. We're not talking about an influencer. We're not talking about a retired athlete. We're talking about a man who spent years fighting inside the UFC octagon against killers. A man who held the welterweight championship. A man who knocked out legends with a single punch. Woodley wasn't coming in to entertain. He was coming in to hurt Jake Paul. In the first fight, something happened that Jake had never felt before. He got rocked. Badly. Woodley pushed him into the ropes, crowd exploding, cameras flashing. And for the first time in his career, Jake Paul had to dig deep. Not as a YouTuber, but as a fighter. The fight went the distance. It was close. People argued. Some said Woodley won. Some said Jake edged it. But Jake didn't care what people said. He cared about something else. Respect. Tyron Woodley, the knockout that changed Jake's career. The rematch wasn't supposed to happen. Jake was scheduled to fight Tommy Fury. But when Fury pulled out, Woodley stepped in on 2 weeks' notice. This time, Jake wasn't fighting for views. He was fighting to silence everyone who said the first win was luck. For 6 rounds, the fight was tight. Heavy shots, clinch battles, strategic exchanges. And then, one of the cleanest right hands of Jake Paul's career. Jake feinted low, shifted his weight, and fired a right hand that shut the lights off instantly. That punch didn't just end the fight, it ended the debate. From that moment forward, Jake wasn't just a YouTuber boxing. He was a legitimate threat. Tommy Fury. The first wall Jake ever hit. Tommy Fury wasn't just another opponent. He was the first pure boxer Jake had ever faced. Tommy grew up around boxing. It was in his family, in his blood. He wasn't learning the sport for views. He lived it. The fight had massive pressure, bragging rights, family reputation, and the biggest question of Jake's career. Can he beat someone who trained boxing their whole life? The fight. When the bell rang, Jake realized something different immediately. Tommy's jab was sharp. His movement was clean. He wasn't reacting. He was reading Jake. But Jake stayed in it. He landed big shots, made Tommy respect him. Then came the moment. Jake dropped Tommy with a clean shot. The crowd erupted. Momentum flipped, but Tommy recovered. And he did what years of boxing gave him. Consistency. He outworked Jake, outjabbed him, and in the end, he handed Jake Paul his first professional loss. The aftermath for the first time. Jake Paul felt what every real boxer feels eventually: defeat. He could have walked away, ended the experiment, but instead, he did the one thing real fighters do. He came back stronger. The rebuild. Becoming a true boxer, Jake didn't run from the loss. He embraced it. He fought Anderson Silva. One of the most respected strikers MMA has ever seen. Silva tested Jake's timing, IQ, movement, and then Nate Diaz, a fighter known for his toughness and unbreakable mentality. With every fight, Jake sharpened his fundamentals. His jab improved. His footwork tightened. His defense grew smarter. Jake Paul wasn't just an outsider anymore. He was becoming a legitimate boxer. Anderson Silva. The legend test. Most fighters wouldn't dare get in the ring with Anderson Silva. He's one of the greatest strikers in MMA history. A master of timing, a master of distance. Even at 47, his skills were still razor sharp. This wasn't just a test. This was a risk. The fight Silva made Jake uncomfortable, made him think, made him adjust. But Jake stayed composed. He boxed smart. He worked the body. And when Silva tried to pressure him, Jake fired back. The fight was a war of IQ, a chess match. And Jake won the biggest win of his career at that point. Nate Diaz, the street dog who doesn't quit. Nate Diaz is one of the toughest fighters on the planet, a man who bleeds in every fight. and keeps walking forward. He wasn't going to get knocked out. He wasn't going to get scared. He was going to bring chaos, the fight, and he did. Diaz taunted, pressured, and threw volume. But Jake fought with discipline. One of the first times he truly looked like a strategist. Clean counters, power shots, calculated movement. And Jake won decisively, proving he could beat a fighter with real grit. The Anthony Joshua fight, the most shocking move of his career. And now, Jake Paul is entering a level nobody thought he'd ever reach. In December, Jake Paul will fight Anthony Joshua, a former unified heavyweight world champion.
Let's just hold Robert Hellenius is okay now, because at the minute he's on his stool and hopefully he's okay.
A fighter with one of the most dangerous right hands in the sport, and a man who has knocked out some of the best heavyweights of this era.
Joshua can he buckled.
He knew he was throwing that. The first step he took, he knew exactly what he was going to do.
This isn't just a big fight. It's a leap across an entire weight class, into the world of giants. Think about this. Jake started boxing 4 years ago, and now he's stepping into the ring with a heavyweight superstar who has fought at the absolute elite level. No influencer has ever attempted something like this. No YouTuber has ever taken a risk this big. This fight is the ultimate test, a chance to silence everyone, or be humbled by one of boxing's hardest punchers. Whether he wins or loses, this moment proves Jake Paul has no fear when it comes to taking risks. The impact, what Jake Paul has done to boxing. He brought millions of young fans into the sport, made fighters richer, made events bigger, and made boxing mainstream again. People watch him to cheer, people watch him to hate, but they watch. And in the business of boxing, attention is everything. Jake didn't ease into boxing, he crashed into it.
I'm Jake Paul. I'm a seashell collector and professional boxer, knocking people the fuck out.
And now he's preparing to fight Anthony Joshua, a matchup that once sounded impossible, now becomes reality. This is how Jake Paul entered boxing, fearless, loud, chaotic, determined, and unforgettable. And his story? It's nowhere near finished. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, drop a comment, and subscribe for more boxing stories and fight content. It helps the channel grow. And we've got more heat on the way.